Hello folks, this is AK Drafting with, well, not a draft today. I decided, because of some requests on messages, to give you some spoils here, because I'm spoiling you. And, well, we're just gonna spoil you for Dark Ascension. It's January 16th. There's still some weeks left, well, actually 2 weeks, until the pre-release start. And, well, about 40 cards have been spoiled yet, and we're gonna go through that very early. Very fast. That was the word I was looking for. The Gatherer of Townsfolk. We put 2 white creatures on the battlefield, and if we have 5 or less life, we put 5 of those in the battlefield. In my opinion, pretty sweet card for limited. Also, I don't like the keyword Fateful Hour. It's just a keyword, you see, I just hate how it sounds, the Fateful Hour, and I really don't like what it does on the card spoiled yet. It's so situational. I don't think there will be any card of these Fateful Hour cards. You're gonna see some afterwards, I guess, but another card yet. I don't think they will be played in Constructed, but for Limited it's quite a good card. If you don't look at the Fateful Hour effect, it's still very good. 2 white human soldiers for 2 mana is fine. Let's see, Midnight Hunting, to compare that, they were 2/1/1 flying. Spirits for 3 mana, but spirits die to more things like the Urgent Exorcism and don't profit from other things. Yeah, we have those two or 3 geists which improve spirits, but humans usually have a lot of more synergies, and thus I guess the card is reasonable to be played and limited. Increasing Devotion, yeah, here we have 5 white human soldiers and 10 when you flashback that. I suppose, well, for 5 mana, 5/1/1 human soldiers is reasonable. Play it, sure. For the flashback thing, 9 mana, then you get 10. It's approximately the Army of Dad, just in white, similar to that. Not so incredibly game-ending like the Army of Dad was. Once those zombies get to the battlefield, it's done. But it's still definitely playable, and you may first pick that card. I'm sure you may do that. Next thing, we have the Loyal Cathar and the Unhallowed Cathar. Just having Vigilance, if it dies, it's returned, flipped, and then it just can't block. Still a card that's playable. I don't think it's so incredibly good, especially since it goes to white. You really have to be into white to very deeply to play that card. And, well, for 2 white mana we have the comparison with the 2/2 Intimidate guy. And I suppose against the 2/2 Intimidate guy, the 2/2 Vigilance guy that returns here is not so good. And for that, it's okay. Nothing very special. Here we have Reprint, Ray of Revelation. Nothing to say about that, it's just a normal removal here for enchantments. Not spectacular, just a sideboard card, nothing more. The Seance goes into a similar direction. Well, at the beginning, you might exile a creature card from the graveyard and put a token of that card on the battlefield, but it's a spirit, and you exile it at the beginning of the next end step. Since there are some other cards that have synergies with the graveyard, and this card is real situational, I would not recommend it picking it very high. But if you find a deck with a lot of creature cards, why not? Well, it's just 1 creature card, that's the problem. If you have probably some kind of a mill mechanism to get your fat guys to the graveyard and then get them back with Seance, why not? Can be a play, but I don't think this card is really good. In Limited, neither in Limited nor in Constructed. Well, here we have a nice thing. Get this dude out at turn 2, and he basically can kill it directly, but nothing special either. This thing just dies when it's out, and, well, 2/1 first strike for 2 mana. It's okay. For 2 mana, it's okay as a rare, but 2 mana legendary rare, yeah. If it was not legendary, this card was pretty good. I could imagine to see it in Constructed play. Because if you have 2 or 3 of these guys out, all spells would to remove them would be 2 or 3 mana more, but since it's just legendary, I don't think it will do a lot. Well, here we have the other Fateful Hour card, the Thraben Doomsayer. When you have 5 or less life, other creatures get +2/+2. Well, you're almost dead then, so it's no problem. And well, you just put a white human on the battlefield if you tap it, and this card is fine. Wouldn't recommend it to be an absolute first pick if you find some other cards, some other uncommons, flip cards, etc. that are very, very good. For especially if you see it on the level with Brimstone Volley in one booster pack. It will never be because it's Dark Ascension in strat, but I would prefer Brimstone Volley over this guy for first pick qualities, but it's still very good, and I guess it's okay to first pick them in draft and, well, constructed. I don't think so. Moving on to blue. That was the white spoilers, and we have the Beguiler of Wills. Really sweet thing for 5 mana 1/1. I love to play 5 mana 1/1s. That don't do a lot. At worst. Beguiler of Wills. You gain control of a creature with power less or equal than the number of creatures you control. Usually, imagine standard. They are not a lot creatures on the battlefield usually, especially when you're blue. You're playing the Solar Flare thing, or, well, the Illusions deck. And when you play the Illusions deck, your opponent should be already dead when you get 5 mana. If you play the Solar Flare, well, you shouldn't have any creatures if you get 5 mana, except a Solemn Simulacrum. So, probably you can take over a Memnite. If you're lucky, but yes, that's all. This card is definitely a limited spoiler. If you build a really control-y deck that's blocking a lot, that stands back in your own base, and then play the Beguiler of Wills with, let's say, 7 or 8 cards just holding the stand here, and, well, then you just, one by one, you take over the cards of your opponent, and then you just win the game. It's definitely a limited spoiler. I don't suppose it will see a standard play, except there will be a very, very control-ish deck in standard for blue, but I don't think that. I really don't think that. And here we have Increasing Confusion. I love this card. This is definitely, well, you pay a blue and X, and your opponent puts X cards from the library to the graveyard, and if you flashback that, for the same cost, he puts twice X cards from the graveyard. This is basically absolute broken spoiler for limited, for draft, and for sealed, where you have 40 card decks. Imagine this to be played if you have 5 mana. Then you already mill 15 cards from your opponent, or just wait 2 more turns. Let's say if you want to cast it for 7 mana, so with a blue and 7 additional, you want to cast that for 8. At that point, well, your opponent has, after you drew those cards, he has 33 cards left in his library. If we get to turn 8, where you can cast it at first, he will have just 25 cards left. And when you cast it for 8, you're milling 8 and 16 the turn afterwards. So your opponent is basically dead, totally. And for limited, it's a very, very tough card. I suppose it's just game ending. Even if you can, especially if you can find synergies with that. And definitely consider that picking first in limited. Definitely do that. Well, another question is the constructed. For standard, well, you have the Jace now, you have the Archivist, you have, well, the Erasure, you have this card, you have a lot of mill cards right now. From Dark Ascension, you have the Zombie Lord, from Innistrad, you have the Zombie Lord. For blue, probably we're on the border now for a constructed playable mill deck. It will be very sweet to see where that goes in the next edition, which is Avacyn Restored, the third of the Innistrad block. But right now the mill deck shouldn't be playable, but this card is a high addition to make the mill deck playable someday. And I suppose if you see 2 or 3 very, very good cards in Avacyn Restored, we may see the mill deck in constructed. So here we have Secrets of the Dead. Whenever you cast a spell from your graveyard, draw a card. Basically, Burning Vengeance, which doesn't damage, which draws cards. I guess that's fine for limited if you can get some flashback spells. I think this is the same deck, like the Burning Vengeance deck, where you want that card in, not when you have just 2 or 3 flashback spells, but, well, for constructed, no way. We have the Soul Seizure. When it deals combat damage to a player, you may transform that and attach it to a creature, and then it's just a mind control. I love this card, really do. It's a first pick and limited for sure, and for constructed you never see that, just like mind control. And now we come to black with Curse of the Thirst. 5 mana, and at the beginning this curse deals damage to your opponent equal to the number of curses you control, and well, this will never see play in constructed or limited. Never, 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 never. Because you want to never have the curse deck. Because there's only one curse we like, which is the Curse of Deathhold, and probably the Curse of the Stalk Prey, but very situational. You never want to play curses right now, and so Curse of the Thirst is going to your graveyard, or a sideboard, or whatever. Fiend of Shadows goes in another direction. 3/3 mana flying. Whenever it deals damage to a player, he exiles a card from his own hand. And you may play this card as long as it's exiled, and you can regenerate the Fiend of Shadows by sacrificing a human. Definitely a limited spoiler, not reasonable for constructed, but for limited it's just a bomb. First pick that thing, almost no matter what. We have Grave Crawl then. The Grave Crawler is, by the way, the buy a box promo. In a very, very cool art. 2/1 guy, you may cast it from the graveyard when you control the zombie, and 1 mana to 1 is just beating, even though I can block. This card is fine. Not a first pick, but you can take this card very high if you have the right deck. Or if you want to build the right deck. Oh, well, you can actually pick that first. Sometimes. Now we have the Dead Mikaeus. Mikaeus the Unhallowed. Intimidate, 6 mana, 5/5. When human deals damage, you destroy the human, and other human creatures you control have +1/+1, and Undying. Well, what the heck you think? What is Undying? Undying is a new keyword. If a creature you control dies that has no +1/+1 counter on it, then it returns from the graveyard with 1/+1/+1 counter on it. So, in fact, it's basically dead now for constructed. And, well, this card as well should be dead for constructed, because if you just compare it to other black cards in that mana slot, which will be Grave Titan or the never play scene Phyrexian Obliterator, this card just can't stand the test, but for limited it will be awesome. For the Highlander EDH deck it will be awesome, and well, probably for constructed after the Titans get hopefully out at Magic 2013. But until the Titans are still in, well, the Mikaeus, the Unhallowed, won't see the play in constructed. But in limited for sure, you just pick that dude first. And here we have the pre-release promo. Go to your pre-release and you get the Ravenous Demon, which is 4/4 for 5 mana, that's okay. And when you sacrifice a human, you transform that. And then you have 9/9 Flying Trample Demon that deals 9 damage to you if you can't sacrifice a human at the beginning of your upkeep. Woo! This is, oh, wow. You just play that card and either you win in 2 or 3 turns, then you lose because you're out of humans. But 9 mana Flying Trample should be enough to do that. Definitely a dangerous card. If your opponent can do something shitty to it, like Bonds of Faith, you're dead. You just committed suicide. Well. But this card should normally win the game. And here we have the Zombie Apocalypse. Basically just the Wrath. But after the Wrath, which destroys all humans, you just return the zombie creatures from your graveyard to the battlefield. All you have, they get back tapped. Very nice card. Pick it first. I don't think it will be relevant for standard, but probably we have a lot of good zombies right now. Probably we could have a zombie deck in standard. Don't think so, but probably we can. It will happen, probably. So here we have the Afflicted Asserter at the beginning of your upkeep, blah blah blah, normal werewolf, 3/1 for 4 mana, but when it's transformed, when you transform this, and an artifact is put to the graveyard, so when you transform it, sorry I had to read it again for a second, when you transform this, you destroy an artifact. If that artifact is put in the graveyard, well, not exiled or whatever. Then he deals 3 damage to the artifact's controller. And at the beginning of the upkeep, it just flips back, etc., etc. Not a great card. Not a great card in my opinion. But, wouldn't pick that first. But you definitely can play it. In limited, nothing more. Here we have the Faithless Looting, which I'm a huge fan of. Not just for the spoiled promo cards with, well, probably a new Planeswalker called Dark Ascension. It really does a lot. And I guess you will see that in play for the red-blue Delver deck, definitely. And I guess probably for the red aggro deck sometimes, because drawing 2 cards, discarding 2 cards, just keep your shitty mana on the hand, and you just get that away. And this card is just a beating. You're going to play that in limited as well as you're going to do that in standard. Constructed probably in some eternal formats, probably. Just probably. Not sure about that, but this card is definitely playable and constructed. Here we have the Flayer of the Hatebound. 4/2 with Undying, just explain what that makes. And, yeah, well, when you get a creature entered to the battlefield, it's actually, well, you remember Warstorm Surge from the Magic 2012? It's actually the same thing like the Warstorm Surge. To creature or player, the creature that enters the battlefield deals damage, but it's just from the graveyard. Or whenever, let me read it again. Or another, okay, it's just from the graveyard. It's just a Warstorm Surge from the graveyard. And now you will ask, how can we play creatures from the graveyard? Just imagine zombie apocalypse, but there will be one more, which is the Haven Lich, which I will come to in about seconds, which is doing some sweet things here. Or imagine the Unburial Rites, or some other cards. Well, we get to that someday. And then this card just damages. Or no, the card that enters just damages, but this card has the effect, and, well, it's 5/2 when it dies, it gets to it's 4/2 when it dies, it gets 5/3, and this is a fine card. I play it. And here we have Mendronen Shaman, which flips to Tovalar's Mage Hunter. This is the release promo. Go to the release events and you get this. Well, normal werewolf to flip 3/2 for 4 mana, and when it's flipped, this is actually a Burning Vengeance for dealing 2 damage whenever your opponent casts a spell. Wow, this is awesome. Definitely a play in limited. Not sure in for standard, but I'm never. Probably want to see a werewolf deck someday. Then it's pretty easy included, but for limited, it's just beating. And here we have a card which I don't really like. First saw that, and then I thought, well, we're gonna have dragons. The normal dragons in each edition, usually they end games, but this one just don't. Even if he attacks sometimes here, and not really good one. I think for 6 mana with a 5/5 flying dragon, you expect more. You just expect more. Just each creature gets +1, +0. In the best case, you have 2 or 3 creatures, something like that in red. I don't like this card. For sure, for constructed, it will never be relevant. Just saying that right now. For limited, yeah, I guess even if you pick that card first, for sure you will pick that first. But even if you pick that card first, it sometimes won't see the play. It will sometimes just go to the sideboard. Not very excited about that card. But another card I'm very excited about is the Pyre-Hard Wolf. Well, creatures you control can just be blocked by 2 or more creatures, and this thing has Undying. I really like that card. You just make your creatures harder to block, and I will play it every time I can snatch it up in a sweet deck here, and this card is just fine. For sure, it's nothing for standard as well, but it's fine for limited. Here we have the Near Heath Stalker. 4/1 Undying for 5 mana. It's a sweet thing, and I guess we can snatch that up. It's basically, if you compare it to other 5 mana cards in limited, the first thing that comes to my mind are the the 4/4 vampires. When they come to the battlefield, target creature can't. When they come to the battlefield and your opponent controls a human, they have haste. And I don't know how their name is right now, really. But the Near Heath Stalker is definitely better than this card, as well as it's better than the Stromkirk Patrol, the 4/3 3 guy with +1/+1 for each time it damages your opponent. Well, it's more a blocker than really an attacker, and I like this card more than I do like the other cards, but still not very excited about it. Well, next card, going to green, is the Ghoul Tree. At first you will say, what is that? 10/10. For 8 mana, cost 1 less for each creature card in your graveyard. Okay. I guess, since it's rare, I will never ever first pick that card. But if you like to, just, well... Okay, you can do that, really, in limited. It's 10/10, can't attack here. Probably we can really first pick that card. We will see where that goes. Definitely not for standard, but not for constructed at all. Probably for the EDH. Maybe they guys like that, but I don't think so. But all for limited. Yeah, okay, snatch that up. If you get it in sealed, I suppose it's much stronger in sealed than it is in the draft at all, but we'll see that. Not really sure if you can play that card. Here we have the Hunger of the Hullpack. Well, you put a +1/+1 counter on target creature as an instant, and for Morbid, you have a +1/+3/+1/+1 counters. I suppose for this card to be really strong in decks where you have first strike. Imagine you're first striking, and then a creature dies. Or if your opponent has first strike creatures. And then you cast Hunger of Hullpack after the second damage occurs. This card is incredibly strong there. Yeah, I don't suppose it to be better than Ranger's Guile at all, but in some situational decks, in some situations where your opponent plays a lot of first strikers, especially, then this card can be really broken. Yeah, here we have another werewolf, which looks pretty odd. The Lamphold Elder, which becomes the Silver-Pelt Wolf. Well, 1/2 for 3 mana, transform it, and then if it gets a 4/5, which draws a card if it deals damage. If you compare in the mana slot, we have the Villages of Astwald here, which are 2/3, and after the flip, they are 4/6. Well, they don't draw a card then, but it all, I suppose, this card to be better because of the card draw effect. If that gets through, it's just really good. It's not incredible, the card, but it's better than, let's say, the Villages of Astwald. Well, it's uncommon, so you can expect that. Yeah, we have the Scorned Villager, which I'm a fan of. 1/1 for 2 mana, being some kind of a god, the 1/1 elf. How was that called again? Oh god, my brain is out. Really, Llanowar elf. God, you see that creature in every edition, and now I don't know how their name is. Well, okay. If that flips, you get just Vigilance 2/2, which is basically double Llanowar elf. I really like this card as a mana fix, even if it doesn't flip on turn 2. Yeah, you can play that in my opinion, it's fine. Here we have a Strangleroot Geist. That card will be the promo for the game day. Just go to the game day and you get a Strangleroot Geist. For everybody. Well, 2/1 with haste and undying, this card is so good. This card is awesome. I just play this card, well, each time I can snatch it up for a green deck, and I like this card, definitely. Not relevant for, so probably it will be relevant for standard, probably relevant for standard constructed. Not sure yet in which deck that goes, but probably relevant. And the next card is a card which I will make a prophecy about. The Warrepeat. 5 mana mythic, insect, vigilance, trample, and undying. After the Titans go out, this card will 100% find a deck in standard, and even when the Titans are in, after Everson Restored, if we have a green deck which is not focusing on the mana fix or on some mana issues, we will as well see Warrepeat in standard, because this card is just incredible. 5/4, returning as a 6/4 for 5 mana, 1 less. Vigilance Trample. For sure you have to get green as the base color here because of the 3 green, but as I just said, we will definitely see the play of Warrepeat in constructed. This will be my tip for you. If you can snatch Warrepeats up, just snatch them up, because they will rise significantly in the price after the Titans go out. I'm sure of that. Well, here we have the Wolf-Bitten Captive for 1 mana, 1/1. That gets +2/+2 for 2 mana. I suppose it to be better than the Dark Thicket Wolf, except it flips. Then we have a 2/2, which you can pump until turn 4. But when you can pump it, it's a 6/6. Yeah, okay. A good thing if your opponent plays a spell early when it can't flip. Then it's a good thing. If it flips, it's okay. But nothing more. So now we get to the double mana, double color cards. Here we have the first. It's the Skull Reaver. 7 mana. What the heck? 7 mana, 3/5 flying, double strike, lifelink. When you gain life, you draw a card. Limited, yes. Other formats, even too bad for the EDH. No, you will never see this card. Never. You will never see this card. It dies to each removal, Dismember, Go for the Throat, Doomblade, Oblivion Ring, all the normal removal it's just dying to, and you will never see this card, period. And Constructed and Limited for sure, you will just play that. Just snatch it up if you open it and build a deck around it. As well as we have the Falconwrath Aristocrat. I like this card much more. 4/1 Flying Haste for 4 mana, and you can regenerate that by sacrificing creature. If you sacrifice a human, it gets bigger. Fine card. Definitely a playable thing for the Constructed, for the Limited, and probably for Constructed. It goes into the same deck like the Olivia, well, Darren goes right now, and I suppose you can play that someday. Not sure if it's already playable, but you can play that one day. But the next card will be my absolute favorite from this edition right now. Here we have the Haven Ghoul Lich, which I was talking about earlier. And, well, for 5 mana, and for 1 mana, you may cast a creature card from your graveyard this turn. When you cast it, Lich, the Haven Ghoul Lich, gets all activated abilities of that card until the end of the turn. So it's basically a flashback for creatures. How good is that? Cast a creature card from the graveyard. You just cast your creatures from the graveyard for your mana, basically. Basically, your creatures can flashback. How good is that, yeah? Awesome, huh? And, well, this card is definitely a limited spoiler. It goes into the Solar Flare, very nice, and I guess it will see a play there. This card is beating, and I love it already. Well, here we have a German card, sorry for that. For the name, we continue with German cards. It's the Immerwolf. For, well, translating that into English, we have the Everwolf, as you already thought so. And, yeah, I love how German goes to Innistrad with some cards, especially the word Geist. It means spirit on German, so it's very nice. You have some other cards. Sturmgeist is actually a really German word. That's the storm spirit. That's Sturmgeist. And actually, if you say German, just for you to let them know, it sounds Sturmgeist. So Sturmgeist is the German term for, well, storm spirit, and you see that card. And we have another German card here. I like that. Well, it's a Lord for Wolfshear, Intimidate 2/2. Well, Intimidate is not really doing a lot because most of the time your opponent will either have a green or a red thing. But your wolf and werewolves get +1/+1, and your werewolves can't flip back. How good is that? They're pumped, and they can't flip back. And that all for 3 mana, not legendary. This card is, in my opinion, a first pick. If you open that and just build a deck around. So, next card, Huntmaster of the Felds. When the creature enters the battlefield... No. When this creature enters the battlefield or transforms into the Huntmaster of Felds, means if it transforms back, you put a wolf onto the battlefield and gain 2 life. Well, normal werewolf flip. Then you have a 4/4 trample for 4 mana after flip. Yeah, it's okay. And, well, when this creature transforms to the Ravager of Felds, it deals 2 damage to an opponent and 2 damage to one of the creatures of the opponent. So basically, you want this card to flip almost every turn. This is awesome, and it's just a first pick, snatch it up and be happy about it. And I guess this card will probably see a standard play, even if you're not having a werewolf deck. I guess it will get into the sideboard for the Wolf Run deck. if you're playing against some decks, you need some restriction against it, probably against the illusion stack, just to rip off your Lord of the Unreals or illusion creatures very easily. And well, we'll see where that goes, but I suppose it will be played in constructed. Before coming to the last double mana card, which you're probably already aware of, we want to move to the artifacts first. Elder of the Lost enters the battlefield tapped and add 2 mana on any color just to play the flashback spells. Yeah, another card for the Burning Vengeance deck, but even not sure if it's played there. I don't think this card is good. Next card, a flip artifact, Chalice of Life. You gain 1 life by tapping that. If you have 10 more life than your starting life, so if you have 30 life or more, you just transform this thing, and after that it just ends games. But since it will never ever transform, it's not really relevant. And the next card is the Jar of Eyeballs, which we can see in some shops to Halloween. Well, when a creature you control dies, you put 2 counters on that, and for 3 mana and tap it, you remove all counters from Jar of Eyeballs, and you look at the top X card, where X is the number of eyeball counters, and you put 1 of them to your hand and the rest to your bottom. Yeah, it's okay. Guess it's okay for limited. Not spectacular at all, but it's okay for limited. And last but not least, we have the Lord, which is Saurian, the Lord of Innistrad. A new Planeswalker for, well, it's white-black for 4 mana with 3 loyalty counters. +1, it protects itself for a 1/1 vampire. -2, you get an emblem that can be removed until the end of the game. All your creatures get +1/+0. And for -6, you can destroy 3 creatures and or other planeswalkers. So not yourself. And after they're destroyed, you get them back under your control. Incredible card. It has a nice +1 effect to protect itself. That's really relevant for planeswalker to see the play in constructed. For limited, it's a spoiler for sure. You just build a deck around it. And yeah, for -6, you just win the game, basically. Because you're taking over the spoilers from your opponent to your side. And, well, this card will definitely see a play in Standard. Not really sure in which deck right now. Probably the white-black token deck. Probably the Saurian is better than Elspeth in that deck, but not sure. Some shops already pre-sell this card for about $60. I suppose this is a bit high. I suppose long term it should go to something like $45, $50, something that point. But definitely a valuable card that we'll see playing constructed. And well, that was AK Spoils with the first episode of the Dark Ascension spoilers, and I guess I will continue that. If you give me some good feedback, I will continue that for the second half of Dark Ascension spoilers if we get all cards spoiled before the pre-release. See you there. This was AK Drafting, January 16th. And have a nice time on Magic Online, or whatever you like to do.